Hello everyone. Today, you will find the second part of the story about the anime Parasite, the Doctrine of Life. Put likes if you want to continue. Izumi Shinichi was sure that there was a parasite on the beach that had taken his mother's body. He wanted to finish him off, but he made a mistake. Izumi met a man named Mamoru Uda. Hide, like Shinichi himself, was the carrier of the parasite. Only he took part of his body and head, but did not touch the brain. The parasite attacked him when Mamoru was desperate and wanted to lose his life. He fell off a cliff, and the creature that penetrated his body had to save him. Because of this, it did not have time to eat his brain. Izumi and Mamoru did not fight because they are very similar. Shinichi even told his new friend his story. And Yuta promised to help. He lives not far from the hospital where Izumi's father is lying. If the killer of his mother appears there, Yuta will inform Shinchai about it. When Izumi and Migi were left alone, the parasite told how he changed the host's body to heal his wounds. He divided into tiny particles, and they dispersed throughout the body. They could not return back. Because of this, Shinichi became so strong and fast, he ceased to be himself. Some part of him was replaced by Meiji molecules. Mamoru Udo really discovered the parasite that killed Izumi's mom. He informed Shinchi about it, and they ran to the agreed place. However, Migi fell asleep on the way, leaving Izumi the blade as a weapon. Yes, but he still could not kill his mother. He loved her too much and was afraid to harm her body. Mamoru helped him a minute earlier. He fought with the parasite, and she wounded him. Now he hit his back and cut off her head after that. Shinichi returned home with his father. At the same time, Tamiya Ruka asked one of her brothers to follow him. She is interested in how Shinchi's body develops in symbiosis with Migi. But Izumi is followed not only by Ryuko's friend, he is also interested in Kanu. She feels him and cannot explain this ability of hers. Kana's boyfriend, Mitsuo, is secretly in love with her. He notices that Kana pays a lot of attention to Shinichi and decides to deal with him. He had already beaten him once, but this time it didn't work out. Izumi became stronger and easily defeated the opponent. At that moment, Satomi Murana noticed them. Shinichi called her for a walk, but she could not get rid of the thought that he had become different after a trip to the hospital to his father. And after a while, she found evidence of this. Izumi felt the puppy knocked down on the road. There was no way to save him, and he took him in his arms so that the baby died in peace. Murana was also with him. But when Shinichi threw the puppy into the trash after his death, she realized that a stranger was in front of her. They quarreled, and Izumi realized that he should have done otherwise. He buried the puppy under a tree. Soon after, he met Shimada Hideo at school. It was Ryoko who sent him to observe Shinichi. He made it clear that he did not want to kill people, he just needed to study them. Hideo was a handsome man, so the girls immediately liked him, especially Yuko. She began to spy on him secretly and even drew in her notebook. Kana sensed Hideo's presence, but couldn't figure out why. After all, before she felt only Shinichi, she told why about this ability of hers, and Izumi warned her not to approach people if she felt them at a distance. He knew that Kana was picking up waves of parasites that could kill her. However, Kana did not listen to him. She again felt the presence of the parasite and decided that it was Izumi, but it turned out to be Hideo. At that moment, Mitsuo appeared and stood up for her friend. Hideo had to take him to a deserted place and teach him a lesson. People from the police came to Shinichi's father. They explained to him that it was impossible to tell, that his wife had been beheaded by a parasite. Otherwise, panic would begin. Now the authorities are looking for a way to identify these monsters, and until they find him, we must remain silent. But he didn't listen to them. He told his son everything. Izumi wasn't surprised. He calmly listened to his father, but he didn't say a word to me that a parasite also lives in his hand. Meanwhile, Yuka began to suspect that something was wrong with Hideo. She followed him and found out that he had inhuman abilities. Yuko guessed that Hideo was one of those parasites that the police were looking for. Her brother told her about them. He drew a monster according to the description of Shinichi's father. However, Yuka was in no hurry to hand over Hideo to the police. At first, she wanted to talk to him. She invited him to a meeting in one of the school classes and took acid with her. When Hideo came, he confessed that he really was no longer human, and then began to turn into a monster. Migi sensed this and informed Shinichi. When Hideo tried to attack Yuko, acid got on his face, and he could not turn back into a person. He wanted to kill Yuka, but the girl escaped through the window and jumped to the ground. She was noticed by the guys from the playground and went to see what was the matter. A teacher met them in the corridor and they went to Hideo together. But he killed all the MiGs and Shinichi decided that it would be more prudent to evacuate the school with everyone and leave the police to deal with the monster. But once on the street, Shinichi found out that Moran's class was still in the building. He was afraid for his girlfriend and rushed inside here. He saw the guys from her class running out, but there was no Moran among them. Izumi went to look for her meanwhile. Haido was crushing the guys from her class in the corridor, but Morano survived. She was hiding with 2 classmates when Shinichi I found them. The guys were scared of him and ran away. They decided that he was also a monster since he was not afraid of the bloody bodies in the corridor. Hideo was waiting for them around the corner. He finished them off. Izumi grabbed Moran and jumped out of the window with her, being at a safe distance from the school. He left her and decided to act himself. At that moment, the police came to the school, but Hideo easily killed them. Shinichi understands that he is indirectly to blame for what happened because he knew that Hideo was a parasite and did nothing. He and Migi climb to the roof of a neighboring building so that Hideo does not smell them and launch a stone at him, which pierces him through and Hideo dies. The authorities take his body and study it in laboratories. After that, they conclude that even the smallest fragment of the parasite separated from the rest of the organism will live for some time. Therefore, it is necessary to give society a way to check people for parasites. They decide to introduce a trend to pull out each other's hair when they meet. If it is a parasite's hair, it will move. However, this trend turns into a tragedy. A tipsy girl decides to pull out her boyfriend's hair, and he turns out to be a parasite. He has to eat her. Since Kano began to feel Izumi, her abilities have been enhanced now. She sees the same dream every night. Terrible monsters attack her, but Shinchi appears and saves her. In real life, Izumi doesn't show much interest in her, but he's thinking of telling her about the MiG. However, Migi is against it. He promises to kill Kana if Shinichi lets it slip. Meanwhile, there are more and more parasites. One of them wants to explore the possibilities of his body and comes to the Yakuza for this. He kills them all and gets injured himself, but leaves unharmed. Shinichi and Moran establish a relationship. They reconcile and begin to meet, while from time to time Shinichi's heart aches. This happens in those moments when he feels strong emotions. At such moments, he becomes a man again. Kana sees Izumi and Murano kissing and becomes jealous. She calls him and sets up a meeting. Kana wants to prove that she and Izumi are meant for each other, otherwise, why does she feel him at a distance coming to the meeting? Shinchi and Migi noticed politicians agitating local residents. All the politicians were parasites. Izumi and Migi come to the conclusion that they want to be in power to cover their own when they attack people. Shinchi still decides to tell Kana about himself. He invites her to a deserted place, and then, after making sure that Migi is sleeping, lays out everything as it is. But Kana does not believe him. She asks to prove that a parasite lives in his hand. Kana is sure that she can distinguish Shinichi from any other person. So she promised that until she gets proof, she will respond only to his waves, but Kana was mistaken when Izumi appointed her a new meeting. She decided to come to the call of her telepathic sense. She thought she would meet Shinichi, but I met a monster. He tried to kill her. Izumi felt it and came to the rescue, but it was too late. The parasite pierced Kana. Shinichi was so furious that he finished him off with his bare hands. The authorities found the remains of this parasite and took them away for research after the funeral. Mitsuo attacked Izumi. He accused Shinichi that he did not protect Kana, and Shinichi hit him back and then left. He himself could not understand who he had turned into, but he was definitely no longer a man. That's all for today. Put likes and write comments if you want more similar videos.